Hello there friends and welcome to my channel. Today, I'm presenting ways to eradicate the top 10 known potential causes of human extinction. Hopefully, it could help ensure future posterity at least for the next 1,000 years. Number 10. Stop greed, wars, and weaponization of the planet. Much of the destruction of the planet is rooted on the greed of a few people. To all those who think destroying the planet by starting proxy wars and weaponizing all countries for money is a good idea, I say this. One day, you too will die. And when you do, you can't bring with you even a penny. If anyone wants to know how much is $1 billion, I'll give an illustration. If you had 1 billion and you were born during the time of Christ, you would have been able to spend $1,000 a day for 2,000 years, and today you would still have not been able to finish up all the money. In fact, you would still have around $300 million in the bank. Listen to me, all you billionaires out there. Remember what I'm gonna say. You will be answerable for all the money in your possession. If you fail to do enough good, or worse, if you do harm using the power entrusted in your hands, your own conscience will be your judge and there will be no escape. Number 9. Stop all religious wars. No religion should impose on others, even threatening them with death if they refuse. Now more than ever, as technology brings people together, they need to be united for doing good and not for planning to do harm. Unity brings exponential growth in power. Thus, we will become either super constructive or super destructive to our human species. Religious extremists are a dangerous group of people, especially when they believe that dying by detonating themselves in public places to murder the innocent is the surest way to heaven. There is no way to threaten them to stop, because it is exactly death, quote-unquote, for God that they seek. The root cause of the problem is ideological, and therefore, it will only yield itself to an ideological solution. And to effect this, more and more missionaries should be sent to convert the misled into the right way of thinking. They also need to be informed somehow that they are only being used as pawns by their religious authorities for political or economic gain. Number 8. The nuclearization of all nuclear countries. Nuclear proliferation is not helping ensure the continued existence of the human race. There are 195 countries on this planet and only 9 of them threaten the right of other nations to continued existence through the development of nuclear weapons. The testing of these bombs increasingly and irreversibly makes the planet more susceptible to earthquakes that slaughter millions of citizens belonging to the remaining innocent countries who have nothing to do with these toys. The nuclear-free countries of the world have every right to sue the 9 culprit nations, and their penalty should be complete denuclearization forever. Nuclear energy power plants should also be discouraged, as it only affords an open door for nations to stockpile on materials that could later be used to secretly develop nuclear bombs. Number 7. Stop deforestation. No more roads, please. We have enough. Another way of abusing the planet has to do with the building of roads and infrastructures that require deforestation. What we breathe in is what the trees breathe out. So if we cut down all the trees because we want more roads, in the end, we won't have any air to breathe, which means we all die. Moreover, it is the trees that prevent carbon dioxide we breathe out from heating up the planet. So cutting down all the trees will make the planet uninhabitable not just to humans, but to all other species. If humanity won't make it, then at least we should let the other species survive. Number 6. Leverage growing population and governments towards food production and ecological balance. There are people and groups out there who want the world to believe that a growing population is a curse rather than a blessing. But the real problem is the failure of our species to leverage that population so it can become the blessing it was meant to be. Some studies argue that the Earth's population is depleting our planet's natural resources at a rate faster than they can be replenished, arguing we consume too much natural resources, trees mainly, thus in the end producing carbon dioxide emissions faster than they can be absorbed. These are all helpful observations. But the solution is not to stop making babies, but it is the exact opposite of that. What I propose is that every time a baby is born and for every man or woman who dies, a fruit-bearing tree should be planted. Moreover, all government ought not to pay man to destroy forests in attempts at urbanization, but rather man should be employed and paid to reforest the planet. Additionally, militaries of all governments should be mobilized at full force towards aggressive reforestation, and everyone in prison should be supported by taxpayers' money not to live in misery, but rather to use their hands and save us, meaning everyone outside of prison and our planet, by planting fruit-bearing trees. Legislation should be passed requiring all multi-story buildings, malls, etc. to allot a certain number of floors equivalent to the forest areas needed to be ruined for them to be built, and those floors used for planting trees, so that every building will have a fruit-bearing tree forest inside of it. If all these proposals are implemented, then food will become a free commodity around the world. This is nothing short of an all-out war, and we need more people to join our ranks. Thus, increase in population becomes a blessing rather than a curse. Number 5. End mining, including all oil-related exploration. Detonations of conventional bombs, mostly for mining and oil and gas exploration, has increased the frequency and intensity of earthquakes around the world, and its damage is irreversible, affecting 7 billion people, not just those greedy people who are getting rich doing it. Mining for minerals involves the removal of massive amounts of materials from the earth, causing instability, leading to sudden collapses that trigger earthquakes, whereas fracking for oil crack rocks and lubricate faults, paving the way for even more and more earthquakes. This means humanity has to stop all this needless mining and the dependence on oil altogether. Oil has never done any long-term good for humanity. Look at ocean and air pollution, and you can always trace it back to oil. Oil is destroying this planet and humanity with it. There is a reason why oil is buried so deep under the ground. It is so that we can't get our hands on it. Wars are mostly over oil or mineral resources, is it not? There are clean energy sources that do not start wars, and it is better to recycle existing mineral materials like aluminum, iron, etc. than continuing to destroy the planet and the human race with it. Number 4. Stop uncontrolled technologies before they become an existential threat. Many such technologies are currently in existence, such as the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, artificial intelligence, biohacking, genetic engineering, including human genetic modification attempt. A miscalculation at CERN can accidentally create a black hole that can swallow and completely destroy this planet, which neither they nor the rest of mankind can survive. Artificial intelligence can rise to a point where humanity becomes obsolete, leading to its death, and genetic engineering can create monsters or a global pandemic that can wipe us out. I think man should stop playing God and find safer ways to create things that will help humanity long term and not lead to its extinction. Number 3. Stop dumping far from potable wastewater into the ocean. We need to stop the practice of disposing far from potable treated wastewater into the ocean. Our technology is unable to completely clean the water when it involves complex chemicals coming from industries, especially those coming from pharmaceutical companies. It is also unable to restore the water to its original state even when tertiary wastewater treatment technologies are in place. Throwing treated wastewater into the ocean is like spitting heavenwards. The mucus lands straight back into our face. Fishes and other sea creatures that ingest the still not potable wastewater ends up on the dinner plates of millions of unsuspecting human victims around the world. If people are wondering why there is a proliferation of cancer and all kinds of incurable diseases, then the ocean is one source of all this. Governments should do their best to work and stop the practice of sending non-potable water into the ocean. Ideally, the best way is to split water molecules into its component hydrogen and oxygen atoms, then releasing the oxygen into the atmosphere to stop global warming, or use the separated elements in hydrogen fuel cells to create electricity with potable water as byproduct. Alternatively, governments can also criminalize the manufacture of products with harmful chemicals that are likely to end up in the ocean. The water we dispose should be as pure as we can possibly make it. And to do this, our civilization has to completely reinvent our way of life. For example, all ingredients in soaps, cleaning chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, you name it, they all have to be edible. Doing this and adding reverse osmosis in the process line will make the ocean safe. Additionally, governments should start collecting all human waste of its citizens and work towards dumping them in landfills outside of the city or using them in crop production. This is important because people afflicted with diseases have viruses in their sewage disposal, which eventually gets transferred using the ocean water as a medium. Number 2, move towards space and underwater habitation. Never put all your eggs in one basket is a wise saying which applies to human survival as a species. Suppose a meteor the size of Texas should hit our planet, then we could be gone like the dinosaurs. The big difference between us and them, however, is that we can invent things and avert such a disaster. There have been talks about colonizing Mars, and there also have been announcements to bring droves of people there, mostly from SpaceX, which hopes to bring about 1 million humans to Mars by 2020. NASA likewise has targeted the red planet but has announced the expected time of arrival around 2033. Halfway around the world, United Arab Emirates is likewise targeting Mars by 2117. Meanwhile, Chinese and European space agencies are carefully examining the possibility of a moon base for reducing cost of travel to other planets. Back on Earth, Shimizu, a Japanese company, said it will completely build a city under the ocean in 12 years. So as far as trying to not put all eggs in one basket, everyone seems to be heading in the right direction. And number 1, marriages that produce new human beings should be encouraged. You may think that 7 billion is a big number, but if everyone decided to stop making babies today, then our species would die off and become extinct after just 1 generation. This is obviously more destructive than a nuclear war. Consider the case of China's one-child policy. This is an example of what happens when offspring production is discouraged. After just 35 years, the Chinese government finally learned things the hard way. Limiting the population will cause nothing but misery and heartache for the people in the long run. History teaches us here a valuable lesson, and it is always wiser to learn from someone else's mistakes than having to live it ourselves. Today, the burden of society's cost of living is discouraging more and more people from entering marriages. And if that were not enough, many need to take up loans just to send their children to school. If this trend continues, then we will likely see the equivalent of an infinitely worse problem than a one-child policy. it will be a global zero-child policy and humanity would have no future to talk about. Well, that's it. If you like this video, please subscribe and like my channel to see all my future episodes. Thank you and have a great day.